Hello, my Copic friends. Michelle Houghton here. I am bringing you an image from 3 Room Studio today. Um, Really sweet little image. You can get this on her website, 3 Room Studio. And this is from last year, but I think you're going to see a rebirth of it as we come into our hot chocolate coffee season and holidays. So I'm going to go ahead and color this little gal up who's tucked into her chair with her hot mug. And then I'm thinking about putting a little bit of a scene behind her, and you could go crazy on this one. You could put a fireplace or a little library nook or a window with kind of a snowy scene outside, which actually I'm thinking I kind of like that idea. But I was also thinking we could put like a little Christmas tree over in the one corner. So I'm going to use a pencil and kind of sketch in. I'm not going to do anything formal like with a ruler or anything like that, but I'm going to maybe just sketch in a couple little things real quick, except that I can't find my pencil. You know, some days. So I think what I'm going to add in, I don't necessarily want to see the whole thing, but I thought maybe, and I might end up trimming it down. So that would be kind of right where possibly a tree skirt and trunk would go. And then maybe, and if I end up doing the window, I probably go ahead and, if nothing else, use a ruler on the trim work. Just so that's nice and square. And then you could do even kind of the window panes. And again, you'd want these to end up fairly square, so you definitely want to use a ruler on those, but this at least gives me a sense of maybe what I'd want that to look like. So we'll think on that. Little angel. You could definitely go crazy with some of the little add-ons, lights and ornaments. So you have to kind of decide how far do you want to take a background portion, or do you just want to focus on the stamped image itself? But that's an idea for a background. A fireplace kind of off center a little bit would also be really pretty with this one. So I haven't picked colors either. I'm completely unprepared today. Sorry about that. But I thought it'd be fun to kind of pick out some colors that I don't use very often. This is a set of blue greens. So I've got a BG93. So this chair is going to be this kind of deep, desaturated blue green. And remember that word, desaturated. All that means is it's been very grayed down. It has a lot of gray added into the mix. So any of your Copic markers that start with a 9, so they have their color family and then they start with a 9, those guys have quite a bit of gray added in. So I am going to do this working from light to dark and then working back again. Now a chair like this, we've got this rounded back, but the base is actually fairly square, so there's not going to end up being a whole lot of shading. But we know that back is rounded. We can see from the curve that it is. So we know it's going to come in there. As it approaches this flat space, a lot of times when they're fabric like this, I know this is kind of an odd one, but I know on our fabric couches, kind of the big open sides like this, the fabric kind of sinks in just a little bit, and then you have this very hard frame underneath. So we're going to say it has a little bit of that kind of bowing. We also have these nice fluffy kind of trim pieces, and we know that we're going to have a little bit of a shadow underneath that. So we'll give it a little bit just to kind of push some ins and outs. I'm going to shift over to BG99, smaller amounts. And then we'll kind of soften the edges. I don't necessarily need to soften the edge of the cast shadow portion, but what I usually do is once I have this other area blended in fairly well, and even though this is square, I'm gonna darken up that highlight area a little bit by going over it a second time with my lightest color. There we go. I usually will even come in on those cast shadows and soften the edge. I don't necessarily want it like crisp. So here we go. Now, one of the ways I've seen this image done, which I really, really love, is I've seen it done where they do a pattern, the paper piecing on top of it, and then have these beautiful floral chairs and plaid chairs, and people have done some really cool things with this particular stamp. Then we've got all this trim. I might keep the trim a little bit lighter, so I may only use the first two BG9. So I've got my BG93, and then I'm coming in with that BG96. I think I'm going to leave those lighter. I like that idea that it's a little bit different color. And again, that's rounding over, kind of and tucking in, so it's going to be darker on that bottom edge. You're going to see this definitely on the video because this is a really distinct one. As I hit those areas a second time with my lighter marker, the whole thing gets darker. So I feel like I lost what I wanted with that shading. So I'm going to come back in, hit some of those, kind of that darker area again, and see if I can't get that one notch darker as well. And now that I've got that area really wet, I should just be able to kind of pull that really lightly so I don't have to go into that light area all the way. There we go. Now, if this got too dark and I've lost a little bit that two-tone nature of that, I could use a colorless blender, but better yet is find a lighter version. Now this one happens to have a BG90, but even like a BG00 or just another light BG, even if it's not the same saturation group, would do the trick. And that's going to work better than coming in with that colorless blender in this case. It's going to keep it kind of all in that same tonal range. So fun chair. Ooh, but I've missed pieces, haven't I? So I've got cushions that are kind of popped out. And then the ottoman, depending on, it might be a pattern version of this color, but I think we still want to use, or maybe I do it even considerably lighter so it's matching. But we definitely need to get the cushions, and then let's go ahead and get the ottoman as well. Sorry about that. We'll do this. We'll come in and get the bottom portion. And the ottoman is extremely square, so again, we're not going to have a whole lot of shading on that. The BG96 on the cushions, just a little bit because they're slightly rounded. I think this is that BG90 thinking, and this is a big stretch, so this takes a little more work, but maybe going from that BG90 to the BG93 on that cushion. There we go. That works. For the little legs, I am going to go with kind of wood, I think. And I'm just picking out random colors. I'm actually going to use some colors that I didn't have with me in my bag at Copic College. So, sorry, set it down. This is an E34. And then I'm going to try an E35 and see if that works. We're doing some experimenting today. It's pretty subtle. I'm not sure. Might need something one step darker than the E55. Let's see. Ooh. I bet this is an E57. There we go. That's more what I was thinking. And then we've got her, let's see, we're going to give her kind of a reddish little bun up top. This is YR31. I use it actually quite a bit to base red hair. And then, let's see, I want, this is a YR24. An E97. I don't know if that'll even, something darker. E15. There we go. Such a tiny little piece of hair. We have to kind of pick and choose. So I'm going to leave it like that for now. I I like to show texture, but it's a little hard when it's so tiny. Okay, and then I have to kind of pick clothing color. I'm thinking kind of sweater legging type look, and I'm thinking for the sweater kind of a deep, let's see, I've been liking R3s, but I feel like when I stick, let's try this. I want it kind of finishing at a burgundy. Wonder if I like that better. So this is going to be really red to start. There's such small areas that you have to kind of pick and choose carefully, I guess. That's what I'd say. I don't think this is going to get me dark enough, though. This is an R39, and it's not going to go where I want it to. I'm going to use an R violet here. I think this actually will work with this. I'm going to grab a V99. I'm going to go into those deepest little corners. Yeah, this is going to push it more where I want it to go. I think we can skip that one. So I've got the V99 in the darkest spots, and then I'm coming out with the R39. And then the lightest little edges is going to be this R35. That can help brighten it up so we don't lose the pieces. There we go. I'm keeping it really light very purposely. I want the reds will spread pretty fast if I don't keep it really with a light touch. Sock wise, we could go matchy-matchy. I'm going to do some black leggings first. So I think I'm going to use my neutral grays this time. And let's see, I think I'll work dark to light for this. Sometimes with black, for me, it's easier to work dark to light. So N9. Coming from the bottom up, if anything's catching light, it's going to be the top edge of her legs. But I know this back leg, the underneath one, is going to be really dark. And I might have to add a little highlight in there so we don't lose it. That was N7, and then this is N5. There we go. But see, I've lost like that separation. So I'm going to go with the N5, and I'm going to lighten that back up just a hair, just a smidge, so we can see where the one overlaps. I'm trying to think. That still is kind of confusing how that's happening. Because it really wouldn't be light there. All right. And then we've got her little socks. And I was kind of thinking like a blue-gray. Maybe what would even work better is like our blue violets. The ones that get gray, of course, are my faves, the twos. So let's do that. So I've got BV25. And I think the trim maybe needs to be a different color. These are her soft, fuzzy socks, so they may have some fun details to them. That was BV23, and here's BV20. And again, we could just do kind of a lighter version on that trim. I think I need to reverse what I did on her legs. I'm looking at that more. Just not working. All right. Let's see. I'm gonna grab a colorless blender. I'm going to go along the bottom edge of this leg. I've gotten it so dark that in order to get it light, it's probably going to take that. And then the N9 is going to go underneath that. There we go. That's the way that is going to help read that correctly visually. Kind of push that leg back and in. Then we can still bring the N5. There we go. That's going to work. Better. Always a little bit of balance, a balancing act. And if something looks wrong, like visually it's not making sense once you get it colored, probably means you just need to switch a few things around. And for me, I really wanted that bottom leg to look like it's crossing underneath and behind. So that to me looks more accurate. Her mug, and we do have a tiny bit of skin tone. Because it's so small, I'm just going to come in with an E21. I'm not going to try to add shading. It's just too small. Mug. Let's see. What color mug does she have? We've already got so many colors on here. I hate to introduce another one. What I could do, if this is going to actually end up with a Christmas tree, we could have it be a color that would be used in the Christmas tree. So what if we did kind of a deeper green? So I think if I can find them, I'm going to use, this is G46. And then I'm going to use a tiny bit of G40. And then I'm going to come in with my colorless blender. There we go. That's a pretty mug. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. This was my main focus, was this beautiful image from 3 Room Studio. I'll do a little bit of the work of kind of sketching out this scene, but I am going to speed it up, and I'll kind of look and see how long the video is getting to see how much I might kind of clip pieces together to show you how that develops. I also have more videos to record, so I can't spend a ton of time on a single image. But this gives you a fun sense of a holiday-esque, seasonal for sure, image that you could pick up and do some coloring on. Bring on the cozy, everybody. Okay, I'll speed it up. We'll do a little more work and have you on your way. Thanks for joining me today. Hope you picked up a few tips for your Copic coloring enjoyment. Again, this image is from 3 Room Studio, and you can find all about my teaching over at scrapweaver.com. We have a huge announcement coming out this weekend, so if you haven't signed up for my newsletter, please do that in the upper right corner of my blog, and you will be in the first to know about my new online class. Have a happy, colorful day.